All right, here we are. It is a big moment, people. I can't believe it's come already. But it is the Fit for Radio podcast, first ever episode, and I do have buttons. Buttons I've never gotten to touch before. Yeah, I got the horn, got the applause, all the things. And for people who don't know me, that I am Drew Tiedemann, just a standard-ass human, but I'm a longtime radio host of a show here in the Portland area where I live currently, but also did a 12-year stint on a show called The Donkey Show, which is an episode in itself on why you would name a show that, but it had legs, baby, and it went a long time. And then after 12 years, I actually got the opportunity to return to my hometown and do a show right down the street from where I grew up. I mean, it's nuts. It was like an 8 or a 9 minute commute for me to get to my job up there, and had an incredible time. Now, things kind of had an unceremonious end there all of a sudden after 23 years in the business. I got my ticket punched. Now I'm not alone today. I've got my good friend and I'm a longtime buddy. Over 20 years ago, I met this guy in Eugene doing radio, and it's an episode in itself about the first time I ever met him, showing up in his Letterman's jacket. This is Tack. He was on the radio in Eugene, on the radio in Portland, under the name Tic Tac, under the name Torres, and now lives back in the Dallas area. Tack, my brother, what's going on?
Man, I appreciate you just allowing me to be on your first podcast. It means a lot that to start off something new in your life, you chose me to be a part of the jump off the foundation brick that you're laying, and I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
And it's so great to have you because you represent something from the beginning of all this. And, we all had these dreams that we were going to be these big radio stars. And in the early 2000s, there was a real possibility of that happening. But there was, there's some things along the way. I remember in 2007, we had a boss who told us that Tanner and I, when we were doing the Donkey Show in Eugene, that 2007 was going to be our year. And that was the pop-off year, that it was going to be, it's time to get boats and a house with extra wings in it. And then 2008 happened, and we all know what happened there. You, Tack, also a victim of that situation where, the economy went belly up and advertisers got scared and radio suckled down. And for a long time there, there was no progress. I always used to say when we would sit in Eugene that it was like running on a treadmill, and it didn't matter how much you faster you would run. Just being 107 miles away from Portland was just enough to make your signal go fuzzy and have them care 0% about what you were doing down there. And we were making waves. That show had a fan base like crazy, and I don't expect people to have any recollection of any of it or to even know who I am. But I'm laying this backstory because my story has become a story that's like a lot of other people in the radio industry, because things were great when it came to the audience and the energy and the fly by the seat of your pants and the Bud Light studios. I mean, we had it all down there other than the big paycheck.
Yeah.
But then the opportunity came up, like when my wife was 9 months pregnant with my first kid, I got laid off from my radio job. Now, the carnage started 2 years earlier when a guy sued another member of the show and shook up the whole operation. And the boat was still together. There was tape all over it, but the boat was still together, getting decent ratings and felt pretty safe. But it was July 15th of 2015, which also happens to be my wife's birthday. And so she's 9 months pregnant. It's her birthday. And they pull me into the office and they say, show's over after 12 years. And I'll tell you what, Tack, that day for me I was shattered as a human. You know what? I was beyond shattered. I was pathetic. I was so pathetic that we went to a place called Taco Vor, which is this sweet taco place where you grab a Mexican beer and a plate full of tacos. Nobody is ever sad at a Taco Vor. And Amy and her friends are all sitting there. I think it's her 30th birthday, too. Like, just an absolute disaster. It's her 30th birthday. She's already pregnant and dealing with that. And what happens? I'm sitting at the end of the table. And back then, it was before I had LASIK. So, like, my eyes are bugging. They are so red. They're, like, puffy because I've just been crying for hours. And, like, everyone who got fired that day met up and had a couple of beers and just, like, wept. And my contacts, and I don't know if you know this, but if you cry enough in a pair of contacts, they will cloud over. So I had cloud salted contacts, so I could barely see, just pathetically weeping trying not to weep, but just looking like an idiot at the end of the table at a Taco Vor. And there's relevance to this story because I thought that was the worst day ever. Like, I wasn't even a dad yet, but I'm like, I've already failed him. Like, the baby hasn't even seen the earth yet, and I've already lost my job. And I'll never forget that feeling because one thing I learned from it is everybody goes, you know, man, it's all for a reason. Everything's for a reason. Well, everything's for a reason until you can't pay your bills and you feel like your masculinity's been broken over somebody's knee because there's like a natural thing where you want to provide, especially when you have a kid on the way. But what I did learn was that was, at the time, the best thing that could have possibly happened to me. Because even though I loved working with the people who also got their ticket punched that day, it opened a door for me to come home, to see my family. I got to see my nephews and nieces who barely knew me, really, outside of family events. And there's always like a slight disconnect when there's like the at-home family and the away family, unless you get a chance to make that effort. And when I came back, like all my nephews and nieces who are now like oldest one's a senior in high school, all the way down to 7th graders, and my kids are the youngest in grade school. I got to take them to Marvel movies. I got to go to the picnics and the parties and I got to watch them grow. And so I got all that, and I got an opportunity to prove myself. And the rest of the show got a chance to say that, hey, maybe somebody was wrong about us. Maybe somebody jumped the gun. Because when I got let go in Eugene, the person who let me go was not even in the city. I never met them. It was a consultant from on far. And that consultant went so far as to flip the format of the radio station and just set the whole thing on fire. I mean, he was eventually fired for his decisions, but it's the writing's on the wall at that point. And so we come to Portland and we start at ground zero. And, you know, coming from Eugene, you go to the liquor store, you go to the Safeway, you go to Autzen Stadium, they recognize you.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to a Duck game 2 weeks ago, and the security guard at the front gate embraced me, dude. He hugged it out. He forgot to actually scan the tickets. Like, I came to the gate, it's pitch black, it's a night game. And I go to scan the tickets, and the dude's like, could I get a hug? And it just started this big old bromance at the gate, which I was totally down for. But Eugene is special. So then we come to Portland, not a single person knows our name. And honestly, my brother's a dentist. In the city that we live in, if you go to the Saturday market or whatever, there is 10 times more chance that they will recognize my brother, the dentist, than they will me, which is pretty nice to actually kind of have that, you know, under the radar thing in the place that you live. But we knew that there was work to do here. And so that's what we did. You know, we we just grinded it out. We did what we always did. We started having bacon and beers, and we started to build an audience. And what it was always about was getting kind of that fam together, where you've got those, they call them P1s in radio, and you get all those people together and they just become the army. They're so loyal and faithful, and they're great people. And when you have events, they're there. And, that's the backbone of what kind of builds it out. And the next thing you know, the show was a hit. And because it was a hit, we started to reap the benefits. And the main benefit that happens to you when you start to do well is you get better contracts.
Yeah.
You get a better contract and you get a little bit of stability, and it allows you to not necessarily keep up with the Joneses, but still, at least live in a nice place, know that your kids are safe. When they watch everybody else with the nice clothes and the fancy items, you can buy a couple of them, not all of them. You should see these kids. But I was so very proud of that, and not just for me, but for everyone else, that success was going on. And then if we're going chronologically, then we ran into a pandemic, and that was crazy. Tanner and I, we started the Donkey Show. Tanner and I, we started Tanner and Drew in Portland. And for years, Tack, it was only the two of us in the entire building. So up in Portland, when they shut it down, it just went lights out. And, the Oregon stayed in the grind a lot longer than, you're in Texas. I think you guys did it for 6 minutes. But for like 2.5 years or whatever, not a chair moved in the building. If a salesperson had left their coat or their purse on that chair, it was there 2 years later with dust on it.
It was
the plants had wilted over. Wow. They weren't allowed in the building for the first 6 months to a year, and then it was optional. And so what we did, because it would have been against the rules for us to be in the same room, we were deemed to be family, basically, which he was just a one-person extension of my family. And if you think about it, you're allowed to be with your loved ones. Him and I do fit the bill. We've been buddies for 23 years, 24 years. He was in my wedding. And we're going to get to why all of it's relevant, because something does happen to me that you would think would drive a rift. But we get through the pandemic, and out the other side, things are strange. You're not getting a lot of the same growth in the industry. Radio realized that it could do things a different way. And that's completely out of your control as a host. And I'll tell you what, that is absolutely frightening, right? And it's not exclusive to the company that I worked for, but it's across the entire industry. You watched a decimation of the total number of employees in radio. Promotions annihilated. Web design vaporized. The number of engineers from 4 to 1. 2 giant sales floors to 1 medium sales floor. 3 to 4 upper management salespeople down to 1 boss, 1 sales manager. And it's not, like I said, it's not market exclusive. It's not company exclusive. It's what has happened across the board. And so when you watch people just fall down, like one after another, people you care about, you never truly feel safe in radio. But I felt pretty good about my position because of the success we were having. And I'm just going to kind of jump to it at this point. I'm going to say this before I get into it. The whole thing makes me extremely uncomfortable. Like, I knew we were going to come on and do this podcast today. And so, I woke up this morning at about 3:30 in the morning. My eyes just popped open.
Dude.
I'm just like, here it is.
I woke up at 3:22 in the morning, stayed up, was thinking about this episode, was thinking about, what we were going to talk about, wrote down questions. That's so crazy. You said you woke up at 3:30. I was right there with you.
And it's one of those deals, and this is even in radio. That was my routine back when the show would start at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
I would get up at 3:30, do my push-ups, ride the Peloton, get out of my own way so I'd be ready to do the show. And then, but now that I got a little bit more free time, it's usually just anxiety that does it in general. So what's giving me anxiety? What leads to this being an awkward conversation? Well, I'll say it like this. The show is extremely successful. I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but when I say extremely successful, that's not an understatement. It was doing very well. We did this party. It's called Bacon and Beer. If you don't know what it is, you pack a giant bar or a restaurant or like a facility with listeners at 6 in the morning, and you have a big party. You drink beers and you broadcast, and everybody has a jolly old time. And by 10 a.m., it's like a whirlwind and a cloud of dust, and you don't really know what happened. So on this Friday, we do that, and there's somewhere between 300 and 350 people at this party.
Nice.
Which you'd get a kick out of because I know you're around from a time where we used to do karaoke. We actually had a karaoke contest, which I was super apprehensive about and having an anxiety attack, like shaking because I hadn't sang these hits in front of 300 people, and so we do all that, and it was incredible. It was some of the best times I think we've had with the listeners, and definitely the biggest Bacon and Beer. That was Friday, and everyone was there. Management was there. And then Monday, we had a wrap-up meeting for that party. And it was at that point that I was walking into a meeting, and I was asked to come down a side hall to an area where offices are not. And I'll tell you what, Tack, I had this feeling in my stomach. And I've been let go from radio 2 times before this day. And both times I could feel the heebs, like the heebie-jeebies. They just kind of come over you.
You felt the heat in your neck? You felt that coming on?
Yeah, it was like almost like a tingle when you're getting sick. Like the first time you feel it and you're like, uh-oh, something's off. And I asked why we were going down that hall. And when that was kind of like, oh, well, just come down here anyway, like without an explanation, I actually said out loud, uh-oh. And we kept walking. And when we entered the room, if you've been let go, you know that you usually have your boss.
Yep.
And then you got some witnesses.
HR, like an HR witness.
Yeah. And when those people are also management, you just know you're not in a good place. And that even a guy with a big mouth like mine is not going to get out of this alive. And I looked at him, and I think I muttered something along the lines of, oh, the 3 horsemen. And as I sat there, they started into the first sentence, and it was the only explanation that I was given at any point was that the company had made a financial decision. And I probably should have let him continue there, but I stopped him there and I said, so I'm gone? And he nodded yes.
And it was just you at this point, right? There was no Tanner, there was no, it was just you.
Just me.
Okay.
And it's weird because it's almost like time stopped right there. And I'm going to say something. The people who are in the room, they're given marching orders, right? So like those marching orders are the type of thing where they have to do this no matter what happens.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with them really in the end.
Yeah.
And they have a job to do, just like I had a job to do in the morning when I did the radio show. Like that's your job. And if you don't do your job, then you meet the same fate. And so I immediately, as I'm sitting there, the first thing I thought of, Tack, was that day at Taco Vor when I was weeping my eyes out 10 years earlier
I get
about
20.
how back in 2015, and when I thought for sure that everything was over and that I had failed and that I was going to, at best, with a little bit of hard work and dedication, I could get on squad at Costco. Much love. It's
Yeah.
my center ring of heaven. I mean, honestly, with nothing else, I would just go hang out there with or without a job. But I thought about that, and I thought about how hopeless that feeling was, and that I wasn't going to let that happen to me this time.
Good.
And I said to them in that room, I said, I always thought I would cry when this happened because I know it's going to happen one day. Just I didn't expect it to be that day. And I just kind of went numb, like to the point I was so numb that I had to ask them to repeat an entire 3-paragraph portion of what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Because I just heard walk, 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 walk,
Yeah.
walk, 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 walk.
I hear you.
That's all I could really decipher. And they were being kind, because you do have to, when you're taking somebody's livelihood and their identity all on the same swoop, it's nice to be kind. And they gave me the ability to, go grab my things and all that. That could have been one of those things. Well, sorry, we just can't.
And they march you out, and it's like a perp walk or whatever. Yeah, those are the worst.
Yeah, exactly. So they didn't necessarily perp walk me. I was escorted for sure. But it wasn't that way. But it was heartbreaking for me because, I asked who knew about it. And they basically said that no one knew about it. Even though a week earlier they had asked for my Rodecaster, which is what I have over here in the corner that's running the studio. We all had one for the pandemic and for broadcasting from home. And they were like, hey, yeah, we just need to borrow that real quick. Now they said that was a coincidence.
Oh, so it's their equipment that they loaned you while you were home doing the show, and they were trying to get it back from you.
Yeah, they got it back a week before this all went down, which I don't care. It actually saved me from having to return it myself. I was getting emails like, hey, you need to return the gear. I'm like, dude, you already took the gear.
So you saw when that happened, were you like, okay, we're just getting back in business, we're just getting back to being in the studio, we're getting back, or were you just, did that kind of give you a little tinge of like, okay, hold on?
I did not like the fact that I had to return the gear. I was kind of overly questioning it. Like, are you sure you need mine?
Yeah.
Of all the ones you could grab, you got to get mine.
Yeah.
And now, it all makes sense
now.
Yeah. But there was no ability, because everyone else was taken to a different area. And there was no goodbyes. After all this time, Tanner and I, it's like brothers. You've seen us in the love, in the wars, in the everything, like brothers. And brothers, they love hard and they fight hard. And we've been through this before. He's been let go where I had some medical issues that I had to have this surgery and I couldn't go with him. And it always burned me about that. But I also, where it's a different time now, back then we had, it was like, now I had a house, but it was like, we didn't have all the responsibilities. I didn't have all the kids. He didn't have a big mortgage to pay and a car payment and all these things that, are just part of life when you're successful. But it also means that you just can't run out the door with somebody every time, and there's a lot of talk about that, and people ask me all the time, like, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And I'm pretty mum on everything. And I don't blame him for that. I don't blame him for staying because I know what that feels like. And when in an industry that's ever shrinking and you fought hard and, ask him to turn down the very same thing that has been ripped from my hands, and it's like, am I really going to feel better if he's also in that predicament?
Yeah.
And it goes down the line, Laura, is a friend. She's and I hate to say a brother
Real,
and a sister.
real
So
quick, can I chime in real quick,
yeah,
Drew? Okay, real quick. Okay, about Tanner, we were just discussing Tanner. Did even though a week before they're asking for their equipment, did you for sure even now to this day know that Tanner had no clue? Just wondering. You know what I'm saying?
I take him at his word.
Okay.
I take him at his word, and
He
if he
didn't know.
told
He did not know at
he
all. You take
he
him at his
told me
word.
he didn't, they told me he didn't. I don't think that he did. Just because it's a crippling move to do. No, I don't know the inner workings because when you get laid off, your email's turned off immediately. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
still have that email, like to where if I like I had was muscle memory, and when I switched to that other email, it's still locked on the last person who sent me the last email before they turned it off.
Yeah.
So
They
it's just
consider
like,
cut you off. You're done. You're there. They cut you off like you're dead. That's it.
yeah, and so much in fact, and I didn't realize that this would be the case. Actually, let me go through the people first. Laura, when she came on the show a couple of years ago, I liked her immediately.
Hmm.
I thought that she was maybe not the only one for the job, but there is a very short list who can walk into that room and coexist.
Mm-hmm.
And she did that. And I think she's a professional. I think she deserves great things. And I hope, and in the end, maybe that'll happen for her now that I'm not there. Just because there's more opportunity, and that is something that's true. When you add someone else to the show, you don't think about it that spreads everything out. Like bosses don't look at it as, okay, Drew's an individual entity and these other people are individuals. It's like, how much does the show cost?
Yeah.
Oh, and how much can we do it for? And that's the only explanation I was given, that I'm a fallen statistic. Yeah. And so she's great. And even the other guy who is still in the room, kind of in my spot, he's been my bud for years too. Exchanging Christmas gifts, buying birthday presents, all kinds of stuff. It's a tough deal though, because I know that even he feels bad about the scenario, just because it's awkward, right?
Yeah.
Like in this industry, you work and you grind to get your chance, but your chance comes as your friend's head rolls across the hallway.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that? Or how are you, supposed to feel about that? And so I've had a lot of time to think. This all went down 2.5 months ago, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of time to think. And from the very beginning, and if you go back and check out any of my social media posts, like right after it happened, I made a decision that I was not going to be toxic or negative or moving in reverse, really, is the way I would put it.
Yeah.
Because when it's all said and done, that's only going to hurt one person, and that's me.
Yeah. There's no reason to go down that road. There's no reason. I mean, it's just, there's no reason to. What's the point?
I'm not going to bathe in poison. I'm not doing it. And so from the get-go, I'm like, okay, well, let's just be positive. And this whole podcast is not intended to slam anybody, but it's just a peek. It's just a peek behind the curtain of the reality of what happens. I mean, you think about it. You wake up, you just had 350 people at a bacon and beer. Your show's #1 in market. Everything's going great. And the next day, you got nothing. And
it's just so confusing when that happens, man. I mean, like, you don't, I mean, we talked about this before, but it's like management looks at you like you're on a Microsoft Word Excel sheet, 14-point font, and it's like your name, your employee ID, and your salary. And it's almost like they just run through and just slice, slice, slice. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
it's just it sucks when you get, I guess what we'd call it, terminated. What are we going to use?
well, I was laid off, which makes life a little bit better. I mean, if you are fired, that's for cause. That means that somebody has done something to deserve it.
Yeah. Okay, so
if you choke someone at a water cooler somewhere, you're in a much tougher spot than you
So
would be otherwise.
we'll call it you were laid off. So the point I'm trying to make is when you get laid off and
It
remove.
feels like fired, though.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
No
yeah.
matter what, I mean, it all feels like fired.
Yeah, yeah. In the end, it was the termination, elimination of you, your job, your salary, whatever. Either way, however you want to look at it. But okay, I got you laid off. Um, and when it's done, when it wasn't because of performance based, it's not like you guys, were doing horrible jobs. It's not like you ninja kick someone into a thorn bush or anything like that. It's just like you're doing your best. You guys, number one, you had a great turnout to a great event, and then you get cut in that regard. Like, I can't imagine the emotions that you were feeling. I mean, I can because I've been there, but I just real quick wanted to ask you, like, I know you were talking about in the moment earlier where you kind of went blank and the wah, 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 wah. When you walked out of that studio or when you walked out of that office and got your things and you weren't able to say bye to anybody, what was I mean, were you just blank? Was it just like your soul had gone for a while? Were you angry? Were you mad? I know these questions might sound stupid, but when I got let go, I was just kind of like, I wasn't even angry about it. I was like, this is business. I know that
Yeah.
sounds so weird, but I was like, this is business. And I wasn't even mad about it in a weird way. I was depressed that I had my shot. I didn't have it for a long time. And I wish I would have had more time to have my shot. That's really I'm more depressed in that regard. So how did you feel? I just want to know when you're walking out with your stuff, what was going on? Like, how were you emotionally?
It's a good question because I was very numb in building. But I knew I had some big things to overcome once I got to the parking lot because first I had to call my wife. Now I'll tell you what. I said this to someone over lunch right before I lost it. I thought I was all done crying about this, because while it's not the Taco Vor incident in 2015,
Yeah.
you're still a human being. And just full disclosure, we're a one-income home. I have a 2-year-old, I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 2-year-old little girl. They are amazing. They're beautiful. They're hilarious. But they need me financially.
They need a roof over their head and they need food in their mouth and clothes on their back.
They need me to love them, which I can do for free, but they need me to provide for them.
Yeah.
And so that thought was the first thought.
Mm.
And I knew I had to call my wife and tell her that I'd been let go, which that is a swipe to your gut in itself. I mean, say what you want, like, oh yeah, well, everybody's understanding or whatever. You feel like you failed when you go to your spouse and say, I'm fired.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if it's like, but that's not fair. You still feel like that. And so she couldn't hear me on the phone. Like I was putting in my earbud and I told her and she's like, wait, what? And she's vacuuming, holding a 2-year-old. And I have to tell her that I'm gone. Yeah. And she's like, oh my God. And instantly she's panicked because we are a one-income home. And so then I'm like, I'm going to call my parents and I'm going to tell them. And I think that some people would listen to this, and especially if you're not close with your parents. Why do you got to call your mom and dad? Because outside of my wife, they're the closest thing that can soften this blow for me.
They're your support.
Yeah.
Not meaning financially, but just emotionally. No, your support.
That 100% my emotional support system. Now, if you don't know my mom is a fireball. She's one of the main reasons. My dad's hilarious too, but one of the main reasons that I am what I am, and I do what I do, and that I've been performing since I was 8 years old. She is that.
Yeah.
But she's also intense. And the older I've gotten, as she knows that I'm good, she doesn't need to baby me or check on my feelings all the time. That's for my kids and that's for my wife and all that. They like to go those channels. And I'm a tough guy. I'm a strong-willed person, and that's fine.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my mom, she worried more about me than she did as an adult. Just like, Is he going to find his way? Is he ever going to go to class? Why isn't he home at curfew? You know, I was never like doing hard drugs or anything, but I was, you know, just a kid, and she worried a lot back then. And you would always see her like stressed about me. And when I went over to their house, it was like my old mom was back, you know.
It's nice.
And that sucks
But you
because
that though, man. You know what
no,
I
I
mean?
did. I did. And she gave me the greatest hug. And I needed it. And my dad is so solid. And here, I told you, here we go.
No,
My dad is so solid. And you know, you don't really have a chance to game plan in the first few minutes, but I told him how I was feeling, that I was not going to let this destroy me. And that was from that moment on, I took that as that was going to be the mission statement. But I also knew that I had to leave that house and do something that's way harder than having to face your parents and your wife. And that is, I had to face my girls.
oh yeah. Yeah. I never
And I
thought.
had to go tell my 10-year-old Lucy is such an unbelievably incredible little girl. And they all are, but she feels so hard on things. And I went to pick up Josie and Lucy. Lucy's in 5th grade, Josie's in 3rd grade. And what I had forgotten about was that I still had my box full of stuff from work in one of their booster seats in the back. And so I'm working it out in my head. When I get in the car, I'm going to tell them. And my 10-year-old has never, and my 8-year-old has never known me as anything other than Dad is on the radio.
Yeah.
He's got the morning show on the radio.
Yeah.
And they're very proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that's your identity to them, like, you know, that makes it harder. And when we got to the car, Josie's like, "Oh, what's in my seat?" And I'm all, uh-oh. So I just try and like slip back there and grab the box. And Lucy looks at the box and her little lip starts to quiver. And she goes,
Oh,
the first words out of her mouth are, "They kicked you out?" I don't know how she knew. And I said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Get in the car." And they get in the car and I drive down the road about 50 feet and I pull it over. So we're not in like the pickup area. And I said, you know, guys, things are going to happen to you in your life. You know, things that you love and things that you hate, and you're not going to be able to control them all. The only thing that you can control is how you react to those things.
yeah.
And in that moment, I knew that this has to be a lesson for them and for me. That if you're going to come out of it on the other side, you cannot let it tear you to the ground. I couldn't go drink in the dark for 6 months. That's not going to fix anybody's problem.
Yeah.
And so Lucy, she just wailed in that car. She wailed like I was gone.
Oh man.
Yeah. And it was so intense all the way home. And I'm kind of like softly saying, "Don't cry. Don't cry." And my 8-year-old is stoic. She's just sitting in the middle. She's not saying anything. She's not reacting. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, well, at least she's okay. And when we got home, we walked in and Josie walked in and then she disappeared. I couldn't find her. And I walked around the house looking for her, and I realized that she'd walked right through the house, out the back, and had gone into the gazebo where there's a little outdoor couch. And she'd buried her head in the couch and was crying.
Oh man.
And I'm just like, in the moment, I'm just fighting that thought in your head that's like, what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah.
And what are we going to do? I'm walking through this beautiful yard. Like I don't have the most epic house, but I live in a really cool place. My kids go to a really safe school. And I was really proud of it all. And I am. But now, in a moment's notice, I have to pivot and everything has to change.
Yeah.
And I have never told that story that I just told you and been able to control my emotions during it.
Yeah.
I cannot get through that 2-minute conversation. That felt like 2 hours. I don't know how long it was, but I can't get through that without absolutely falling apart. And you don't have to be a parent to know why. You feel like you let someone down even when they tell you that you didn't. And now it's like, they're excited for the podcast thing, but they don't know what it entails. They don't know. It's not the same. Everybody's got a podcast. So, until it finds its success and it finds its lane, it's not really, it's not something for them to hang their hat on at school, which is fine. A 10-year run as the My Dad's on the Radio is more than most people can say.
Yeah.
But I find myself thinking about that day almost like it's telling somebody else's story because it's still surreal. When I look on social media and my show has different names on it, or, your name was never spoken again on that radio station outside of 2 disclaimers. I mean, it's a lot all at once. It's the kind of stuff that happens to people who commit crimes and lose their job.
Yeah.
And so and I understand though, because it's a business, like you said. Yeah. And they've got to go on. They got to continue to satisfy advertisers. They have to continue to get ratings. And I understand that. It doesn't make it any easier for me, but I understand it.
Yeah.
And so now is like an opportunity for me to do a lot of things. Now, when you work for a big company in the radio industry, especially the biggest podcasting company, I believe, in the world, you are kind of, when you work for them, you work for them. And so now that I don't work for them, it's an opportunity for me to start my own thing. Now, Fit for Radio is something that has been in my head ever since the pandemic. Fit for Radio is all started basically when they closed the gyms in 2020 and I started doing push-ups. And there is an episode coming up which is all about push-ups and the crazy mode that I got into.
Yeah, is that the
I'll
record?
just say, well, yeah. Well, so basically I did over 4 million push-ups between 2020 and now. And I went absolutely ham on it and changed my life. I changed the way that I eat. I changed the way that I do just about everything in order to optimize my health and fitness. And it was just a funny thing for me that I always, like, I had got the website and I got the business license and all this stuff. So it was just like laying in wait, even though I knew I couldn't really use it while I worked there. But it's the idea of, it's almost, if the name had its full length, it's almost too fit for radio. But it's fit for radio, which means I'm fit for being someone who would be on the radio. Because let's be honest, when you think of, if you're going to draw someone on the radio and put him on Family Guy, what does he look like?
Probably a slob like me.
No, you're not. No, I mean, I'm thinking Hawaiian shirt, lanyard, 3 necks. You get the idea.
Yeah.
And so Fit for Radio is kind of a play on that. And it's also that I was a good fit for radio. So once that was born, like, I always knew that I kind of wanted to do something with that. And really, it's taken on a life of itself as people have come out of the woodwork, saying, hey, you should start a podcast. You should do this. You should do that. A lot of people wanted sports. A lot of people wanted like life stories. And then you know, it just kind of came up that people do amazing things, and you don't necessarily have to be famous doing
Yeah.
amazing things for people to enjoy your story.
Yeah.
And we're going to have some people on this program that are going to blow your mind with the things that they can do. I mean, ultra marathon runners, people who have the American record for push-ups, and that story is incredible. And we'll get to him as well. We've got just people who were gone through crazy health crises, near-death stuff with people's kids, and then coming full circle is
Yeah.
what's cool about these stories. So I'm excited about all of it.
I got a cool
This
story.
episode,
I mean, my life is pretty chill, like what happened. So I got one too, you know?
yeah, and we're definitely going to do an episode with you and a little bit of a background on you too, which we'll kind of touch on a little bit more at the end of the episode. But you see that if you're watching this on YouTube or one of the other video platforms, you'll see that he's got all kinds of art behind his head, and that is all his art, Picasso Bro. And I believe you can go to picassobro.com as he's showcasing around the room as we speak to check out his art. And at some point, we're going to get some of that here in the studio as well. But he's got a nice little spread there, which will break down in your very own episode.
Yeah.
But we just had to get through some stuff today.
No,
You know,
yeah, of course. And I had a few questions for you too, but I want to let you finish because I had a few questions that I wanted to touch on while you were
yeah,
talking.
for sure. And you shoot away. I guess in closing to it, I would say that most of our episodes are not going to include me crying. Now, we do have some guests coming up that could definitely lead to some tears.
Dude, you almost dropping tears. You started dropping tears. I had that where you get that lump, coming up. I almost dropped some tears with you, man. I felt that.
Well, now I've got like post-nasal drip off this thing. So, I mean, everything was all put together. I don't even know. I could have the reddest eyes in the world at this point because it's just like once I start leaking, it's hard to come back from it. But I guess I would, if you take away anything from this, that it is, first of all, savor the flavor of something that you enjoy, because when you do something for as long as I was doing it, the day to day is like you're in the rat race and you don't necessarily appreciate every moment of it. And so always know where you're at. And if you like where you're at, savor it because it could be taken from you in a moment's notice. And also the other takeaway is that, the stories from this podcast are about people who get handed they either just do amazing things or they were handed a raw deal or a bad set of cards and still found a way to win the hand.
Yeah.
And this is no different. It's not as intense as, getting caught in a pile up on a freeway or slipping off a bridge, but it's daunting to change your career and your life after this long and have to do it immediately and to succeed at it in order to not fall into the black hole.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it. And if I could even begin to tell you, bro, the amount of just learning Chat GPT and cording. I've been cording. If I were you to look down here, there's cords everywhere.
What'd you say earlier?
Real nice.
Spider web. It looks like a spider web all over your floor.
Yes, it does. But it's gonna be a good time. And I couldn't let anything get me down. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, but a couple of weeks ago, I didn't let go. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to do fun stuff. I went to 3 duck games since I've been let go. I'm trying to have a good time and not, dwell on things. And I go to a duck game, take my kids, surprise them, pull them out of school, stay at this sweet bed and breakfast, do the whole thing. I mean, all the pomp and circumstance. And then a couple of individuals break into my car while I'm there with no job. Like, I don't know if they could smell the no job on it. They're like, and so
this needs to be kicked. He's already down. Let's just kick him some more.
So I watched this surveillance camera of these guys, and they're throwing spark plugs at my car, at the windows. And I don't know, they had the arm of like a 6-year-old because they just could not break these windows. Eventually, they break the back right corner panel, which has no alarm connected to it. Which on a 22 4Runner, why? But that's another conversation.
That's where you keep your stuff in the back cargo. That's where you carry everything. That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
And now I have to give you full disclaimer because I posted about this on social media and it blew up. I think got like 50,000 views, and they're like, "Hey, moron!" And they're talking to me, not to the two idiots who broke into the car.
What were they talking to you about? What were they calling you a moron
Well,
for?
so let me break it down. So we get into town. I pull them out of school. Like, I decide that day we're going to the game. So I go and I grab them out of school and we start driving down to Eugene. Well, we were meeting up with friends to go to the game, and the meter was running on that. We got stuck in traffic and it was like we lost an hour. And so we had to decide that we're just going to go straight to meet them and we'll check in after we get done.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't until midnight that we checked in, and I'm Sherpaing in all this stuff. Well, another full disclosure, this bed and breakfast, quite spendy, very nice, but only had room for 2 guests, not the 4 of us who went. Millie stayed home with my parents, but so I had to sneak them in the night. They slept like on mattress, little air mats next to a bathtub in the bathroom area. Now it's like a 120-year-old building, so it's all classic and nice, but we came in under darkness and very shady. Well, we didn't take every single thing out of the car, and that's why I'm getting called moron and you're an idiot. And I didn't even realize half the things that were in the car because I don't go and grab each person by the shoulder and go, "Do you have all of your things?"
Yeah.
At midnight, I'm like, let's get inside and get to bed and not get seen by, somebody. But what I didn't know is 2 tweakers are out in the bushes watching my vehicle.
Yeah.
And so when we leave, they start hucking stuff at it.
Jeez.
They ignored the fact that it had a full-blown car seat, 2 boosters, so they knew they were robbing kids. Stole my kid's purse with all of her lemonade stand, and she makes jewelry. She, like, in the street, she did this and made all this cash. And she thought she'd be a big kid and buy her own stuff at the game.
Yeah.
And she brought all her money. They jacked it. It had all her sticker collection in it, the whole deal. And she just cried again.
Dude, how do you have a soul when you're removing money from like an 8-year-old or 10-year-old's pink, probably purse with little ponies on it or whatever she had? Like, how do you remove that just to go do some drugs? Like, I wouldn't even be able to live.
The way I think of it is they're thinking 10 minutes out. And they don't realize that that's going to have a wave of an effect. Like, the next day we had to rebuild the window.
Yeah.
You had to make an insurance claim. We didn't get anything back for anything inside.
Yeah.
And they took so much stuff. Patagonia jackets, Ugg boots, 2 different purses. It went on. And so I understand why people want to call me an idiot for that. It's just the circumstances were weird. And it's hard for me to retell each person who calls me that and like give them a paragraph. Well, this is how long the day was. After a while, I just started saying, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I'm a fool.
I was going to lean into that. So yeah, that's just insult to injury, and it's the universe. Tack, it's testing me. It's saying, okay, yeah, you did well with the first bit of adversity. Kudos. How about this? Wham! And hit me with the car break-in, which I will say there was about 45 seconds where if one of those guys had come out of the bushes, their meth strength would not have saved them.
Their meth strength.
It wouldn't have done it because I was hot. But luckily, they had a really cool guy working there who actually was an old Donk Show fan, another strike from the past, and he helped me rebuild the windows. Like, well, the universe has given me a little bit of an olive branch.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I don't see this whole thing is it's glass half full. And, like I woke up this morning, I knew we were going to do this podcast, and I had some anxiety about it. And I had 2 people just out of the blue reach out to me and ask like, hey, how you doing? And so then I give them, the ceremonious paragraph about how I'm grinding and getting it done. And both of them were like, no worries, though. You got this. Like, seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And
dude.
that makes you feel better because I feel like, not to keep bringing up the universe or why everything happens for a reason, but like this whole time, little things have been happening for me in order to give me an opportunity to do this. And
Yeah.
if I had not been laid off, this podcast would never get launched. So if I look at this 2 years from now and it's taken off and we're getting A-level guests all the time and full-blown sponsorships and it takes care of itself and I can travel with my family and not and I love dropping them off at school. Like I picked my kids up every day of school forever. That's my gig. Like I bet you people at pickup don't think I have a job or never did, but this this is great to drop them off. So I'd love to be able to work on a schedule where, you grind when it's time to grind, but it's not just part of the robot race.
Yeah.
And this gives that opportunity, and it's going to open a door to, I don't know, explore a different part of myself. I do like to make people laugh though, and if you're listening to this podcast or you're watching it or wherever you consume this stuff, um, it's just serious subject matter. Um,
And
Tack,
we
you know me well. I can barely stay serious for 10 minutes most of the time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we will have fun and
Oh,
we
yeah.
will laugh.
Yeah, we'll
And
go around, we'll go back and forth. This one was that one we you had to purge it out. You had to get the poison out. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And so for any of my old coworkers, most of them have reached out and that feels good,
Yeah.
and like cuz I worked in a place where we were all friends. All of us were friendly. And I can't think of one person where I was like, "Ooh, don't want to be around them," or "Ooh, they hate me." We were all buds across the sales floor, sales managers, GM. I mean, these guys they were always chill to me. And so I hope the takeaway is not that bad people came for me in the night locally, because that's not what happened. Um, I know that it's also been a long wait for a lot of people to get some answers, but there's just like, out of the respect for the situation, if I would have hopped on and just been like, "So here's what happened to me," it doesn't go well, right?
Yeah,
Because you let your emotions get in the way. And here we are all this time removed, and I'm still hurt by the moment, just not by the people, if
dude, you're
that
still
makes any sense.
processing it. I mean, I know you're still processing it.
Yeah.
Uh,
100%. But I've been so lucky. Like we're doing the show right here, right now, from the Stafford Hills Club in Tualatin, Oregon, and it's absolutely incredible. And
mm,
the staff has been so kind, and from the very beginning, I've worked out here. Like that's been a big part of the mental process for me. Has been to I do the push-ups, I ride a Peloton, but to actually like be able to get in a gym and just like step out of the house, and you know what it's like when you're used to a routine and then that routine gets
yeah.
broken up, and
Yeah.
it's not good for your relationship to just be like on top of each other right there when she's not used to me being right there all the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like I'm there for the important stuff. Like I empty that dishwasher before they come down in the morning, or I'll start making that smoothie for the girls, or set the eggs out so when Amy comes down, it's like one less step. I'm trying to not be a complete nuisance.
Yeah.
And everyone who knows me knows that that's tough.
It's like you're trying to find your role right now, like there's a few things I kind of jotted down I just wanted to touch on. Because I know you said you're talking about your identity. I know when I lost my job, I was in radio for 17 years total. I was in radio locally in Dallas, where I'm from, for about 9 of those years. The rest were in Oregon, Eugene for 5, Portland for like 1, and then yeah, 9, yeah, something like that. So I was known for that, and my family knew it. Oh, that's awesome. I heard you on the radio on Saturday when I was shopping. And, you're like, yeah, you feel this thing. You feel like, honestly,
Yeah.
let's be honest, there's a weird kind of like, you feel cool, you feel like you're kind of like the cool one in the family. And so I totally understand that. So when that stopped, I mean, I didn't go and post something on Facebook about how I lost my job. I just didn't want to talk about it. But it did hurt for a while. It's like a breakup where people would come up to you and be like, "Oh, hey man, I haven't heard you in a while. I thought you were on Saturdays from 2 to 6." And you're like, Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, this happened. And I kind of look back and wish I would have posted something. That way everyone would have just got it at once because I had to relive it with people every few days and I had to retell the story and I had to, so the point I'm getting
Yeah.
to is it took me a minute to find my identity as well, and, you know, uh, what I'm trying to say is as you're trying to find your identity, where are you going with your identity? Like, where do you feel like your identity might be flowing to now as you try to find your new identity? Just like you were describing with, trying to help out with chores and do this or that, try to find your way. What's your identity kind of forming into right now?
Well, doing chores is a very temporary identity.
No, 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 no.
I'll
But I'm
give.
saying, like,
Well, I know, but that
you're
all
trying to
jokes.
find your groove. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm trying to find my groove so I don't have to continue to do any housework.
Stella needs her groove back.
Yeah, absolutely. But to your point, I've told the story so many times that, when you come in contact with somebody who you haven't talked to about it yet, it's like, okay, here we go. I
Yeah,
gotta do it again.
yeah,
Like I went to Seattle this last weekend. I saw one of my best friends. I mean, he's like blood, and I knew we were gonna have to talk about it.
yeah,
And I was kind of dreading that because especially when you're talking about this with successful people, that's the tough part. Like not that it's easy to tell somebody who has no job about it, but you're looking at a friend, you're at the exact same point in your life like when it
yeah.
comes to age, and
He's-
all of a sudden I just fell down a level or
yeah.
two. And
You feel like embarrassed. You feel ashamed almost. You feel like
yeah.
all, and it's not even your fault.
And so I went to a tailgate and, you're meeting all these new people and your friends are introducing you to people and they know the story and they're understanding of your story. But now you're telling a perfect stranger that you used to be somebody.
Yeah,
That sucks, because it's like, I'd rather not say anything at all, but it's like, you know, I got introduced as, hey, this is Drew. He's a chill guy. He's starting this podcast and you tell him about it. So I tell him about the podcast and he's like, so what like gives you the credentials to even do that? And then well, I used to be, and you
yeah,
have to like go into this thing. It's like, it's kind of like when you look on somebody's Facebook and it says their occupation on the left side and it says, used to work here, used to work here,
yeah.
used to work here. It's all very backwards. The momentum's going away from you at that point. It's like, I'd rather not have any of that.
Yeah. I know. I used to be people. I mean, it would used to be like, oh, there's Torres from Kiss, or there's Torres on Kiss FM. Like that's how I was known. That was my identity. And then it went from, dude. I mean, I went to some humbling things, man. I always started waiting tables for 2.15 an hour. It's very humbling when you went from hosting a live broadcast on Saturday night at a club with like at least 1,000 people to wiping
Bringing
down.
out tots.
Yeah, yeah, wiping down someone's salsa that they spilled and they don't care about you and they just like leave you $1 and you're just mopping floors. I mean, it goes from literally sky high to like you feel rock bottom. And it really humbled me, man. And that's what I'm saying with my identity and that part. I kind of like, and for me at least, my ego got kind of inflated, man. And I personally, just my experience, I learned I was like, dude, you got to tone down your ego, man. Here you are wiping floors now. You're not that cool guy. You're not Torres on Kiss FM anymore. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I would say you're probably the best salsa wiper
Yeah,
in that whole southern area.
I killed the salsa, bro.
I bet you did. But one thing that we prided ourselves on, both Tanner and myself, and Laura when she joined the show as well, um, that we're not any different than everybody else,
Yeah,
right? Like I honestly believe that there's nothing special about me other than the fact that I have the ability to speak and think clearly. But
yeah,
that doesn't, in no way, shape, or form, does that separate the men from the boys. Like and I think that's why the show was so successful, is because you treat everyone like it's family and that you're buds. And so I was once asked to write out what it is that I am to the people on the show and to the listeners. And everyone's thinking about it and got the convoluted answers or whatever. And my answer was simple. I am your friend. I
yeah.
am the friend of the listener. I'm the friend of the people in this room, but I'm your buddy. I'm that guy that when you see him, you're like, "Hey, dude," and we just get into it, and it's
You are.
and
You
it's like the friend that you haven't seen in a hot minute, but you always have a good time with. Like that is all I ever wanted to be for
yeah.
these people and for myself. I never wanted to be a character. I never wanted a fake name. You know, like when I first started in this business, they're like, all right, so there's already a guy named Boner and a guy named Cooch on the show. What do you want your name to be? That's not even a joke. That's the exact quote. And I'm all, oh God. Like, what am I going to say? I'm going to be turd here in a second.
Yeah, you got to
And
say, yeah, no.
And so, yeah, so for like a year, I had to go by Drewski. And then it was like on my email. So, like, people I grew up with and went to college with, they'd be like, hey, Drewski. And you're like, oh my God, I hate it all.
Just
I hate all the fake names.
Yeah, I know. I don't like it either. I think it's absolutely foolish.
And it's an early 2000s type thing.
Yeah,
The way that all that went. And, you know, like, I'm Drew is my real name. It's always been my name, and that's the whole idea, is just to be real with people. Felt the same way.
I always try to do the same thing as well. I mean, you know, I just realized too, bro. You know, we've known each other for 22 years.
Yeah.
22 years, bro.
God.
And I'm 42.
Yeah, you've gone
crazy.
past the 50 percentile, and
Yeah,
I'm
that's
glad.
crazy.
I'm glad to have you here, not just for your beautiful artwork behind you, but
Thanks.
also, like, we did some test audio, and first day, you turn your camera on and boom, dude's shirtless.
Well, I
like,
didn't bring this up. I knew it. That's why I put on a nice shirt today, bro, because I knew you're gonna haze. I knew you're gonna haze balls about my shirt, man.
yeah, then, well, I know, and I saw you like in the warm up right before this. You were in a tank top, so like you almost didn't do the shirt. I think you thought about going prison style.
Yeah, no, for a minute, I was like, no, I'm gonna go ahead and put. I was gonna wear a turtleneck, but no, I just decided not to.
Well, I'm glad that you wore a shirt today because it's distracting. No, but I also don't care moving forward. You want to come on the show and you want to have no shirt on, then no problem.
Well, I'm not
That's
going to
fine.
come on and show just bare hairy nip. I'm not going to. Well,
and then we're going to work on that body, dude.
Yeah.
And now I haven't seen your nip nops either, so they could be nice and you're just being self-deprecating. But the part of the thing of this podcast is that we want people to make some changes in the way that they think about food, alcohol, things like that, not to stop enjoying food. I mean, I am so lucky that my wife is a stay-at-home mom now because of a 2-year-old, but she's a hell of a cook, and she's able to manipulate things so that I can keep from getting big old moobs and still enjoy food. So food, I think alcohol is healthy and safe in moderation, and when you drink the right things, you know, it's like, I know so many people are like, man, I just keep getting so hungover. Like, well, give me a list of what you're drinking.
I can't do that anymore, man.
Yeah, well,
I can't live that life anymore. I slowed down a lot of my drinking. You know, it's funny, when I stopped drinking and smoking, you know, greenery, I've gained more weight. How ridiculous is that?
Well, it's because you have a lack of something to do, so you eat.
You might be right, man. You might be right.
I mean, if you put down a Coors Light and pick up an Oreo, it's not gonna.
That's probably fix anything. How'd you know? You're hiding in the bushes outside my house.
Well, I will say this: that they were sampling Oreos at Costco a couple days ago, and I crushed one, and those bad boys are underrated.
Oh yeah, yeah. They got the Reese's Pieces Oreo with the Oreo. And
man,
buttercup.
Do you just pull out that whole thing and just say, "Leave me alone"? I'm gonna sit down and crush it.
I'll kill all four. Within about 67 seconds. Dude,
that's amazing.
I wanted to bring up a few things though, bro. Remember the earlier you were talking O-Bar.
That was the karaoke days.
Oh, O-Bar, dude. When you were talking about that, I was like, O-Bar. Oh man, I absolutely. I was addicted to that place. And you had this apartment on the 3rd floor at the very corner where we could look out your window and see the crowd. Is there a big crowd, small crowd?
Yeah, you could wait it out.
Yeah, you could sit there and go, okay, let's walk down now. No, hold on. We'll wait about 15 until the game starts. And I mean, then we'd go there and we'd, I don't know if it's still legal there, but you could go and fill out your ticket to gamble on games, over unders, this and that. Is that
now? It's all DraftKings runs all that now. Now you can just do it on your phone while you're sitting there.
Yeah, and I love the whole Scantron thing. I love the Scantron. They print your ticket. You could just rub your ticket, give it a little kiss and stuff, and just hope for the best. And
Yep.
I loved how you could win a parlay, bro. You could hit a bet, win 50 or 60, take it to the bar, the cashier, and they would just drop you the cash. Right, dude. I want to live that life again. I want to live. I mean, I'd probably become a homeless degenerate, but I want to live in a life and live in a location where I can still do that.
Oh man, and it's such a carefree time, right? Like
Dude,
we would do the radio show from 2 to 6, and then I'd come home and you basically chill for a while, get some. I wouldn't even get dinner. You start pre-funking a little bit, and then I would go down there, and I was so routine that I would go in, and they would know to just order me a thing of wings.
I'm about to say your wings, dude. Get your
And I would
wings.
get my wings, and then I would separate the wings so
Get
that
them
they could
dried out.
dry them appropriately.
Yeah.
Yep, and it was every time, and sang the same 3 or 4 hits. Bring it
Dude,
on home, baby.
dude, I'd show up at like, because I worked from like 7 to mid, but I was able to get off at 11. And I remember I'd show up, I'd just go straight there, man. And you guys were already 4 or 5 deep, and I'd have to go there. And I remember they had dollar paps. And I remember I was so broke when I first got in radio, like especially that job in Oregon.
In the smaller market.
Oh yeah, dude, you're barely making it. So it's not like you have $1,000 extra fun money every month. So I mean, I'm getting there drinking dollar paps, trying to nab 1 or 2 of your wings for free, like just doing like karaoke, man. Doing like, oh yeah, we'd go up there. Oh, dude, it's just like you said earlier, like really absorb. Like earlier, you were talking about really absorb the moment and all that stuff, man. I really wish I could go back and tell myself to really like video record those moments in your memory. You know how you can, you know what I mean? I wish I could go back and tell myself that, because I did. I have a lot of phenomenal memories, but it's like the best memories you ever had that you never really realized until later on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the best time in your life.
And you're not giving it the credit that it deserves in the moment. It's
No.
like, oh, it's just, we're back to the old bar. We'll be there again next week. And it's like, well,
And
one week we're not going to be.
And we always would bitch like about being like, oh man, we're in Eugene, we need to go to Portland. Portland, we need to, like we're always hungering for that next step, but like
chasing it.
We never really sat in that moment. And I kind of wish at least for me, I wish I would have sat in that moment a little more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And luckily for me, I was given the opportunity to, do it once and then do it again. So like the second time around I did, I feel like I soaked it up a little better. I think, another guy that we used to work with, who's a great friend of mine, Marcus Bridges, said,
yeah, Marcus.
He said,
what up?
Yeah, he's the man, and he still works in podcasting, and he'll come on this show.
Oh, that's what up? Because I know he's gonna listen. I love Marcus, man. He's
the best. But he was talking, and I won't do his quote justice, but he said that for him it was that everything was so great to see, and it was like looking at being in a place where everything is beautiful, like at a mountaintop, and that just failing to take the time to stop and look at the view.
Yeah.
Because you're moving through it and you're trying to stay alive in the industry, and you're chasing ratings and you're doing this stuff. And then like just to stop and enjoy the view. My kids used to do this thing when they were like 4 and 2 and 3 and 5, like for a handful of years, they would have a competition where they would point out where my work was. You come up over this freeway and you could see the symbol of the building off in the distance, and they'd go, "Dad's work." And like they did it, and then they would fight about who said it first.
Yeah.
And I would sometimes get annoyed, like, it doesn't matter who said it first, but like, what I would do to have them fight over pointing at the sign.
Yeah.
Not that I care about the sign, but I cared about how much they cared. About the sign.
I got you.
But it's the little things, and I really, I think it all is gonna work out for me. It's just a different workload, because I'm a one-man pony show now. Before, you have this parachute of working for a big business where everyone works in their department, and my job is just this. But then like when this ends, it's everything else that has to make it work. So like that's the part that's a little daunting for me. You know, like you could sit on here and be like, gonna be fine. But the human being in you always questions a little bit, not about the work ethic, but if you've ever put something on social media, and I've put a video up almost every day since I got let go. I mean, most days my statistics are on the rise, but you'll put up a video that you'll put a ton of work into. I did a Tiger Woods video that has all these little bells and whistles to it, and it got the worst response out of the last like 15 videos.
Yeah.
And just like, because you're just a slave to the numbers and the algorithm and
Yep.
where it gets put in line, and it doesn't matter. It could be the greatest thing in the world. And if the algorithm or YouTube or whoever decides that you're getting in the back of the line, you better move.
Dude, I've been talking about this with so many people about the whole algorithm, and apparently they're about to rechange or redo the matrix of the TikTok world again or whatever. But I just was talking to a lady last night that does these online video courses, and the thing about it is the same way, Drew. I've put a painting up where I'm like, this is absolute fire. This is gonna get thousands of views and thousands of likes. Like this is an amazing painting. And dude, it'll get like 100 views and maybe 6 likes. And then just for testing things, I'll put up a painting that I'm not a fan of. You know, I'll be like, all right, this is okay. And let me see how it does. And boom, 1,500 likes and this and that. And I'm like, you never know. And then you're putting hashtags, and then you're changing your hashtags. And then when you're trying to do your hashtags on TikTok, it'll show like how much 1.4 mil on this word. And then you're trying to maneuver things. But then
Yeah.
I've also heard you can't use the same hashtags. Like every time you post, you got to mix it up. I've heard so many things. It's like a combination lock of the algorithm that you're trying to find out. I mean, I'm like you. I've done one of those time lapse videos where I painted, and it came out. It was awesome. It was a great time lapse video, and it was a good painting. It was white canvas at the beginning. You know, the scribbling. You know, it took me 2 hours, but the time lapse was like 20 seconds, and it just came out phenomenal. And I thought it was wonderful. And I think I got maybe like 80 views or something, and it just got nowhere. And I did hashtags, FYP, all that. It got nowhere. And then I go on TikTok, and you see like some girl just bopping up and down for 5 seconds, not like nudity or nothing, just kind of like just swaying and dancing and shimmying with some song. And you see like 7,000 shares, you know what I mean?
24 million likes.
Yeah, and you're like, what? Like, why? What is, and it's a combination lock that you have to figure out. And hey, as soon as I figure out the combination, man, I'll give you the combination. You do the same.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
That'd be nice. You know, the dream is there. The idea is there. But everybody asks me after they hear about it, like they'll pull me aside and be like, but how are you going to make any money?
Yeah,
and that's the age old question.
Just chase the dream, bro. Just like another friend told me, he was like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I was like, I don't know. And he was like, you know what you got to do? You got to find out what it is you like to do, and then find someone to pay you for it.
Mm-hmm. And that's right. And that's what you've been doing, and I'm super proud of you. Your art's incredible.
Thanks,
you were
man.
hiding this talent from me for many years when we were walking around the streets of Eugene, Oregon. But we will get into that in your own episode, bro. I love you. Thank you for coming on. And
thanks for having me.
I hope the takeaway from this is that things happen, but we're going to test the human spirit. We're gonna pick it up, and we are going to interview incredible people. And anyone out there who knows someone incredible or an incredible story I should check out or hit somebody up, just send me a message. I'd love it. And this is just the beginning, baby. It's just the beginning. All right. Have a good one. Thanks for coming on, homie.
Hey, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. Seriously. Thank you.
Peace out.